wonder, I haven't seen the full interview of Chris Sims and Josh Allen. I wonder if Josh Allen is aware that Sims has picked the Ravens to beat the Bills this weekend. I wonder if that came up yesterday. Sims and I we both
probably
believe,
forgot to mention that.
we both believe that the Ravens are going to win this game, and you may disagree with me. We'll get into that right now, but two of the hottest teams in the NFL down the stretch. The Ravens had to win 5 straight to punch their ticket to the postseason. The Bills, coming out of their bye week following the Hail Murray debacle, have been unstoppable, but they got grazed by the Colts last week. Their defense was shredded by Phillip Rivers, Jonathan Taylor, and company, and it was Josh Allen who had to step up and basically save the day. So this one, I'd be very nervous about it if I'm a Bills fan, because the Ravens, with that three-headed monster running the ball, with Marquise Hollywood Brown more involved in the passing game, and Sims showed all week long how they're throwing outside the numbers, something they hadn't done all year. The Ravens, to me, are a very, very challenging opponent for the Bills, almost as challenging as the Chiefs will be if the Bills get past Baltimore and if Kansas City gets past Cleveland, Peter.
I agree with you, Mike, but there's one thing I would be concerned about, basically, and that is, can the Baltimore Ravens play with a Tennessee-like intensity in this game? Because I have to tell you, I told this to Calais Campbell after the game the other day. I said, I added it up. You've played 247 college and pro football games in your life. And I've never seen you and your defensive partners play a more intense football game, either in Arizona or here. And I don't really remember watching all that many Jaguars games of his. But what I do remember, and the first thing he said was, "You're very right." I mean, there was something about that game last week that was almost, and I hate to call it personal, because I think that's a little cliche and silly, but they hate the Ravens hate the Titans. Hate them. They don't.
So
have
it is personal
for the Bills.
It's cliche, it's silly, and it's accurate.
So. Apparently so, but it's silly to me. I mean, I can't imagine that if Marcus Peters sees Derrick Henry on the street this offseason, he's not going to, hug him or something like that, or whatever. He's certainly not going to punch him in the nose, because Derrick Henry would kind of whip him.
Yeah.
but I think you have to ask yourself, I think it's been a good thing since that weird Wednesday afternoon game in early December, when I believe, and I think a lot of people around the Ravens believe, Mike, that game was really good for them. When you've got your third-string quarterback, Trace McSorley, in the game, down the stretch, throwing a TD bomb to Hollywood Brown, and then having the ball in your hands and having one last chance to win a game against the big, bad, undefeated Steelers, when that happens and you give them everything they want, and you don't have many of your guys, I think that showed the Ravens, look, we're not dead. And just because every game down the stretch is a playoff game for us now, it doesn't mean we're finished. And they have played, you're right, Mike, they've played 6 consecutive games where basically lose and you're out. Win and you get to stay in. And they've been terrific. So I would be afraid, of that kind of attitude. I just wonder if you can muster up that same kind of intensity that they had in Nashville last weekend.
And I think they can, because this is game number 7, because they've been living on the edge, because they are used to it. They like it. They like being in this position. I think for me, and I agree with you, it started on that Wednesday afternoon against Pittsburgh, and I think it really became permanent and galvanized on that Monday night, that epic Monday night game against the Browns, where they somehow found a way to win. That's when you start to think something special is going on. Outsiders think it, insiders think it, and they keep riding it. And you don't do that special night justice by falling flat on your face later. You have to finish the job. You have to pay it off so that Monday night will be remembered as the moment where the 2020 Ravens became a championship caliber team. And, we see it every year. Not every single year, but most years. There's a team that's just kind of hovering. There's a team that's almost out of it. There's a team that's got maybe one more loss to give before it's done. It's right around Thanksgiving, and then all of a sudden it starts to fall together. And it's win after win after win, and they carry that momentum into the postseason. And actually, it's good the Bills played last week, because I think the Ravens would have an even better opportunity to catch them flat-footed if the Bills had a week off and had not played a playoff game, because at least they played, they won, and they've survived, and they moved to the next level. They didn't just get a pass to the next level, but they still are dealing with a Ravens team that won on the road, that somehow was favorites on the road, and that didn't give the Titans the proverbial chip on the shoulder. They still overcame that edge that went to the other team, and they got it done. And even though they'd lost twice in a row to the Titans, there is that acrimony with the Titans. I think they'll find a way to whip themselves up into a frenzy as it relates to the Buffalo Bills, just because they don't want to fail after coming so far and working so hard to get to this point. And that's why I think the Ravens are going to pull off. And just from a football standpoint, when you look at what happened to the Bills' defense last week, Peter, I don't see them being able to slow down what the Ravens do. The Ravens are capable of running it. Now they can throw it. And I think the Bills are going to be stretched very thin.
So the Ravens have to hope that there isn't this lake effect snow, obviously. You don't want to have a slippery track, because on offense, to me, the biggest danger point for Baltimore in this game, the way that they can really threaten the Buffalo defense, is for Lamar Jackson to play the way he played last week in Nashville. And here's the reason why, Mike. That game was anybody's game until Lamar Jackson took off up the middle, beaming toward the right pylon, diving, getting in right at the end. And I just thought at that moment, I'm one of these guys who say, Jays, don't expose Lamar Jackson as much to all these big defensive hits. Make him stay back in the pocket. Tell him, listen, 6-8 times a game to run is plenty, but let's not be running 12 to 14 times a game. And Lamar Jackson, rightfully so, says, bunk, that is the way I play football. And you don't want to strip a guy of what he does best. You don't want to make him do the things that would make him a B quarterback, when doing something the other way and doing it in a lot of different ways can make him an A quarterback. So, Mike, I've come to this realization, and I don't know how you feel. Let's say Lamar Jackson does get beat up some in the next few years, and he only has 11 peak seasons. All right? I'd rather have 11 peak seasons than 16 seasons of B to B minus football from Lamar Jackson strictly as a pocket quarterback. And I'm not saying he would be B to B minus, but to me, if you take away the run from Lamar Jackson, you're taking away part of the game that makes him one of the most incredibly dangerous weapons in football.
But see, this narrative's been there from the moment he became the starter. Hey, this is going to be great while it lasts, and it's not going to last long. Well, it's lasted. It lasted through the 2019 season after he became the starter in 2018. He was the MVP last year. It lasted through 2020. He's able to pull it off. And in a single elimination setting, you're even less inclined to be careful. You got the whole offseason to heal.
Yeah.
You're chasing greatness. So he's going to be even more aggressive. Let's hear from the man himself earlier this week, Lamar Jackson, talking about how he has been and surely will be more aggressive in the postseason.
Just my mindset, attacking the game more, being more aggressive. I would say at the beginning of the season, I was conservative a lot. Just standing back and getting sacked a lot more. But as the season went on, things break down. My first read not there, second read is not there. I take advantage of what the defense gives me. That's pretty much the biggest thing, and we just been finishing, like all around on the whole offense, whole defense. Special teams, all of us just been finishing. So that's part of the biggest thing about, just coming back from quarantine. The whole team is just dialed in right now.
Peter, you mentioned the weather earlier. The Dark Sky app tells me that at game time tomorrow night, it will be 34 degrees on the way to 36. Temperature actually going up. No precipitation expected tomorrow night, so that's good news for the Ravens as they hope for a dry and fast track as they try to run through and around the Buffalo Bills defense.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.